Right, guys. This is the part of the stream where I do my improv story, my spooky, spooky improv story for y'all. And today's spooky improv story is called Dolls. Thank you very much. Okay. Once upon a time, there was a little boy called Terry. And Terry absolutely hated dolls. They were the thing that he was most afraid of. Well, one of the things he was most afraid of. The second thing he was most afraid of was Skittles, because every time he ate a Skittle, for some reason he would start choking his guts up, and he thought he was gonna die. So Skittles and dolls are like side by side on his afraid list. And unfortunately, Terry's grandma had an extensive collection of antique porcelain dolls. She had an entire room dedicated to the porcelain dolls. And every time Terry visited her, she was ecstatic, and she'd just be like, "Terry, please, come look at my porcelain doll collection. They're beautiful, come look at them." And she'd give Terry a tour, and she'd be like, "Hey Terry, like, come look at this doll over here." Like, "No thanks, Grandma, I'm good." And she's like, "Oh, but you'd absolutely love this one." This was a common occurrence every time Terry went to his grandma's house. His grandma would give him a tour of the doll's room because she kept adding more and more dolls, and she'd show them off. And one day, it was a stormy, stormy Sunday night. It was Halloween night. Terry visited his grandma before he went trick-or-treating. And his grandma wasn't there. "Grandma! Grandma, where are you?" said Terry. Terry came into the house. He wiped his feet on his shoes on the doormat. It'd be weird if he wiped his feet on the doormat. He wiped his shoes on the doormat, he kicked them off, and he looked around, all around his grandma's bungalow. "Grandma! Grandma, where are you?" He couldn't find her anywhere. The only trace of his grandma he could find was her slippers and her dentures in the glass by the bed. And then, in the corner of his eye, he caught a glimpse of something shining in the other room. Sure enough, it was the room where the dolls were kept. Terry shrieked as a bolt of lightning shot through the air like a lightning bolt. Like a shotgun bolt. I mean, either works, I guess. And he saw for a minute, or a second, I suppose, as long as a thunder flash happens, he saw the shining blue bright eyes of a doll, a new doll, in the doll room. Terry hadn't been in the doll room yet to look for his grandma, so he slowly made his way into the doll room, tiptoeing one bit at a time, because he was absolutely terrified of being alone with all these dolls, alone in this bungalow. As soon as he took that last tippy-toe step into the doll room, the door slammed shut behind him. He screamed with terror and went to claw for the door handle, but it was locked. He couldn't open it. He was banging on the door. "Let me out, please. I'm so scared, please. Who's there? Grandma, are you pranking me, please? I know it's Halloween, but please, I'm so scared." It wasn't his grandma. He turned around, and the only things there were him and the dolls. And amongst those dolls was a beautifully polished, blonde hair, blue-eyed, shiny porcelain doll, sat in the middle of the antique table in the middle of the room. Terry was squirming in the corner of the room, screaming, "Help, please, someone help! I don't know what to do." Terry was debating grabbing the doll and throwing it through the window, smashing the glass to get his way out, but He couldn't even go near the doll, never mind pick it up. He slowly approached the window and tried unlocking the latch, but even the latch wouldn't work. He was completely trapped. He was on the opposite side of the table to where the doll was, so the doll was facing away from him. And then all of a sudden, the doll's head completely spun around 180 degrees to face Terry. Terry yelped and hit against the window, protecting his shoulders. I don't know, protecting his vitals with his arms crossed. He was terrified. Nothing else happened until Terry slowly approached the blonde, blue-haired doll. I was gonna say dragon. That's a Yu-Gi-Oh reference. And he felt enticed to touch the doll because he didn't know what else to do. He was literally trapped in the room. And he went to adjust the little silk beret on the doll's head. And as he did so, the doll looked up at Terry and said, "Hey there, Terry, wanna play?" And Terry threw the doll against the wall and it smashed into 1,000 pieces. Unfortunately though, not enough pieces, because the bottom part of the doll's head was still intact. And he went up to it to stand on its head once more. But before he could, the disembodied jaw said, "Goodbye, Grandma. It was nice seeing you." Smash! Terry smashed it under his bare feet. He didn't care he wasn't wearing shoes. He smashed the rest of the jaw to smithereens. That was the last thing that Terry had said before leaving his grandma's house when he was last there. So he was extremely confused because this doll must have been hiding around the house when he was last there. Luckily, he heard a door unlock. And he was like, "Oh, thank God, my way out of here is clear." He ran to the door and went to undo it, but it was still locked. He was so confused. What? I thought the door unlocked. And then he turned around and realized that there was a wardrobe in the room with the dolls. Terry went up to the wardrobe door. Very, very slowly unhinged the door with a creak. I'm gonna shut my door because that's scary. I can see the dark hallway. And his grandma's corpse tumbled out of the wardrobe and landed on top of him. Terry screamed. "Ah!" He scrambled away, and the door was unlocked this time, and he got out and he ran away as fast as he could, and he looked back behind him, and what was behind him was his grandma on marionette strings chasing after him. Her hands were in the air, connected by string. Her jaw was dislocated like a hand puppet called a wooden billy puppet. Her eyes were glassy and fake, and her feet were trailing along the ground, and she was floating towards him, bobbing up and down. "Terry, don't you want to give your grandma a kiss?" Ah! Terry fucking run for it. Until eventually he escaped. He escaped his dead grandma, and he was all alone. He was in a clearing in the forest, and it was peaceful and quiet. And he sat down on a lone tree stump, and he just cried and cried. He didn't know what to do. And then he realised he needed to get home to his mum to tell his mum what had happened. He ran home as fast as he could. he saw his mum waiting at the side of the door when he got home. Mum, please help! Grandma's hurt. Grandma's a doll. What are you talking about, Terry? Grandma's perfectly fine. Look, she's right here at the dinner table. Terry peered in through the door, and there, at the dining table, was his grandma, still connected with the marionette strings, and her head snapped around to look at Terry, and her hand did a little bit of a disembodied wave. I say wave, it was more like a hand shaking in the air, because it's just a dead hand shaking. Terry looked up at his mum. Mum, what's going on? Don't worry, Terry. You'll be fine. Oh, that shine in your eyes has gone away. You look so sad. Let me give you your shiny eyes back, Terry. And Terry was never seen ever again. Thank you. That is the end of my story. And you wanna, like, that was a real story, like, genuinely that was a real story. And you wanna know how I know it's a real story? Is on that night, I was trick-or-treating at the time. I was on my bike with my basket full of sweets on my way home, and I saw a little boy screaming bloody murder run past me, and I thought to myself, okay, that's weird. But then I saw a fucking dead grandma on marionette strings dragging past me as well. I fucking screamed bloody murder too. I don't blame the bugger. I mean, luckily that's all I saw of it, but yeah, it's a true story. I was there. I'm telling you. But yeah, that was my scary improv story. Dolls. Thank you very much. Good story. Thank you, Luke. I appreciate it. And you know what? I think that deserves a yay! Woo! That was a good story. I enjoyed that.